Most people think they know how the world works, until you lift the curtain and realize it's way weirder, darker, and frankly, more unhinged than you ever imagined. From mind control weapons to space nukes and heart attack guns. Yes, really. Today we're diving headfirst into 101 conspiracy theories that blur the line between paranoid fantasy and government file. Buckle in, but keep one eye on your phone. You never know who's watching. 1. Back in 2013, a team of US scientists at a supposedly secure biolab managed to cook up something straight out of a nightmare. A mutant bird flu virus that slaughtered every single test subject it touched. Yep, a solid 100% kill rate. It was so deadly that once the story leaked, the backlash was nuclear and the whole project was yanked offline. But here's the real kicker. This Frankenstein virus? Totally accidental. Which makes you wonder, if this is what oops looks like, what kind of doomsday toys are they brewing on purpose? Honestly, at this point, Netflix's sci-fi writers should just start taking notes from real life. 2. Think space is just for astronauts and Elon Musk memes? The Pentagon begs to differ. When they rolled out the US Space Force in 2019, they weren't just flexing in new uniforms. They were openly developing rods from God, aka tungsten darts that drop from orbit with the power of a nuke but without the messy radiation. That's right, literal death from above, and technically, no treaties are violated because loopholes. If these things are already built, is it paranoid to wonder whether they've been tested, asking for a friend, and maybe a few million people downrange? 3. Once upon a Cold War, America came this close to nuking the moon. Under Project A-119, top military brass thought it'd be a brilliant idea to blow up part of the lunar surface just to show off to the Soviets. Because, you know, regular fireworks are for amateurs. Cooler heads, or budget constraints, killed the project. But let's pause for a second. What exactly were they trying to prove? That we could turn the moon into cosmic Swiss cheese? Drop a comment. Would you have wanted to see that insane lunar light show or nah? 4. Remember those sci-fi movies where the government tests shady stuff on people? Yeah, that's less fiction than you'd hope. In 2022, reports surfaced showing the US Army had secretly sprayed bacteria and chemicals on innocent citizens in places like San Francisco, St. Louis, and New York, without a single consent form in sight. All in the name of research. So if that weird cough you had was from biowarfare R&D, congrats! You've been part of history. Makes you wonder what else they've been up to that we'll only find out about 50 years too late. 5. You've heard the FEMA camp conspiracies, right? Well, here's where things get unsettlingly real. Official documents confirm FEMA operates over 800 emergency facilities across the US, many of them wrapped in barbed wire, with the sharp side facing in. Yeah, you read that right. These sites are fully staffed and maintained 24/7. Even though they're supposedly not in use. It kind of begs the question, why prep so hard for mass detainment if it's never going to happen? What do you think these camps are really for? Sound off below. Just don't expect a straight answer from Uncle Sam. 6. Back in 1962, the US decided to spice things up by literally nuking space. Under Project Starfish Prime, they launched a 1.4 megaton nuclear bomb straight into the upper atmosphere. Because, hey, what's the worst that could happen? The result? An explosion so massive it lit up the skies over Hawaii, fried radio signals, and created a giant artificial radiation belt around Earth. You know, casual Tuesday stuff. Officially, it was all just a test, but come on. Who nukes the sky just because? Makes you wonder if we're missing the real story here, and what else they've detonated without telling us. 7. Let's talk about the world's biggest open secret. Epstein's infamous client list. A billionaire arrested for trafficking minors, deeply connected to politicians, royalty, and A-listers, and yet, mysteriously, we've never seen the names of his high-powered friends. Add in 50-plus broken security cameras and guards, falling asleep during his death? Yeah, totally normal. The media dropped the story like it was radioactive and no one's talking. Makes you wonder, who's important enough to get erased from history this hard? Go ahead, drop your theories, if you dare. 8. Imagine catching the subway and unknowingly becoming a human petri dish. Sounds wild, right? Well, in 2016, we found out that the US government had been running covert biological aerosol tests in New York's subway system, spraying substances to see how pathogens would spread in a packed underground network. No heads up to the public, no consent, just surprise. And if this was happening in 2016, the real question is, how often is it happening now without us knowing? Sweet dreams, city folks. 9. Think the weather's been weird lately? Turns out, the US has been messing with the skies for decades. During the Vietnam War, declassified reports confirm they used cloud seeding to crank up monsoons and flood enemy supply lines, a real-life weather weapon. That was back in the 1960s. Fast forward to today, with AI and next-gen tech. And tell me with a straight face they aren't still tinkering. Suddenly, those once-in-a-lifetime storms don't seem so random, do they? 10. What if everything we know about human history is dead wrong? In 2021, Dr. Robert Schoch, a respected Boston University geologist, claimed there's hard evidence of an advanced civilization that predates anything we've been taught. Over 12,000 years old. His theory? The government and mainstream science are keeping it buried because it would blow up everything we thought we knew about human origins. Why hide it? Power, control. And maybe because the truth is way scarier than fiction. 11. Picture this. A weapon that doesn't kill, but controls your thoughts. Sounds like a dystopian sci-fi flick, right? Except it's real. In the early 2000s, Pentagon documents revealed research into Silent Sound Spread Spectrum, SSS, technology, a system designed to implant thoughts and manipulate behavior using low-frequency radio waves. Officially, the project was discontinued. Sure. Because history is full of governments just walking away from mind control tech. Feel like your thoughts are your own? Might want to think again. 12. You think you've heard it all? Nope. In 1994, declassified Air Force files exposed one of the weirdest military proposals ever, the gay bomb. The idea? A chemical weapon that would make enemy soldiers irresistibly attracted to each other, supposedly disrupting morale and combat readiness. Sounds like a bad punchline, but it was a real research concept. Officially, they shelved it. But if this was on the table, what other bizarre experiments are still under lock and key? 13. Feel safe when your phone's off? Cute. Thanks to Edward Snowden's 2013 leaks, we now know the NSA can track your phone's location, even when it's powered down. That's why government insiders yank out their phone batteries entirely during sensitive meetings. So, if they're that paranoid, what should the rest of us be doing? Spoiler. Airplane mode won't save you. Privacy in 2025? Basically an urban legend. 14. While we're all obsessed with what's out there in space, the deep sea might be hiding secrets that are just as wild, and way closer to home. Did you know the US government actually restricts access to certain deep sea zones? And it's not just about protecting ecosystems. Classified Navy sonar data has hinted at colossal, unidentified underwater objects, USOs, that move in ways no known technology can explain. So what's lurking down there? Humming beneath the waves? Totally off limits to the public? Aliens, ancient civilizations, secret military tech? Whatever it is, they really don't want us poking around. And that's what makes it even more suspicious. 15. In 1962, the Pentagon came up with what might be one of the most jaw-dropping plots in American history. Operation Northwoods. The plan? Fake terrorist attacks on US soil, bombing cities, hijacking planes, even killing Americans. And blame it all on Cuba to spark a war. Yep, you read that right. While the operation was ultimately shut down, the fact that it even got that far is enough to keep you up at night. If they were willing to stage horrors like that once, what other creative solutions have made it off the drawing board? Food for thought or nightmares? 16. Think the government only funds boring science? Think again. In 2017, nearly 12 million pages of CIA documents were declassified, spilling the beans on decades of research into psychic powers, remote viewing, and even mind-controlled assassins. We're talking about experiments to implant thoughts, control people's behavior, and, no joke, kill from a distance using nothing but mental focus. Officially, the project was shelved because results were inconclusive. But let's be real, if they'd cracked psychic warfare, do you think they'd just quit? Yeah, me neither. 17. Most people assume the US government controls its own money. But here's the plot twist. The Federal Reserve is actually a privately owned bank. That means a small, unelected group decides how much cash floods the economy, and they can print as much as they like. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? The Fed quietly handed out a mind-blowing $16 trillion in emergency loans to banks and corporations, and the public only found out after the fact. So, if you're wondering who's really running the country, spoiler alert, it's not the folks you vote for. 18. Since 1916, more than 1,600 people have mysteriously disappeared in U.S. national parks. And no, we're not talking about folks who just wandered off the trail. These cases are weird. Bodies found miles from where the person went missing, barefoot in deep snow. No tracks in or out, and sometimes even missing organs, without a single scratch from animals. Creeped out yet? Even stranger, the National Park Service refuses to keep an official list of these vanishings. The question is, what the hell are they covering up? And why does nature suddenly feel like a trap? 19. The next wave of military might isn't about bigger bombs, it's about building better humans. In 2021, the Pentagon openly admitted they're researching human augmentation tech, and trust me, it's straight out of a sci-fi nightmare. We're talking gene editing, brain implants, AI integration, the whole package. Their own report said human enhancement is no longer a question of if, but when. Super soldiers used to be comic book material, but now? It's looking like the next phase of warfare. Sleep tight knowing the future battlefield might look like a Marvel movie gone wrong. 20. Nanotech is already mind-blowing, but DARPA might have taken it into horror movie territory. Leaked reports talk about a black goo, programmable nanomaterials that can self-replicate, repair damaged equipment, and even mimic living tissue. Sounds useful, right? Well, some theories go darker. This stuff could potentially be weaponized, turning into a living biohazard that's nearly impossible to stop. If this is the tech we know about, imagine the stuff that's still locked behind classified doors. Black goo today. Who knows what tomorrow? 21. Imagine waking up one morning and finding the entire internet gone. No social media, no news, no email, nothing. Classified FEMA and NSA files confirm the U.S. government has detailed contingency plans to shut down civilian internet access in the event of a national emergency. And rumor has it they've already been testing localized blackouts under the radar. So the next time your connection mysteriously drops, might be more than just your router acting up. How ready are you for a world where offline suddenly means completely cut off? 22. Long before Hollywood made brainwashed assassins a thriller trope, the CIA was already running the real thing. Under Project Artichoke, agents toyed with hypnosis, psychological torture, and a cocktail of mind-altering drugs, all designed to create programmable killers, true Manchurian candidates. The goal? Flip a mental switch and send someone off to do the dirty work, no questions asked. Sure, that was decades ago. But does anyone honestly believe they shelved mind control tech and called it a day? If they were pulling this off in the 1950s, where the hell do you think we're at now? 23. Harry Potter's invisibility cloak might sound like pure fantasy, but the US military is disturbingly close to making it real. Scientists at the Army Research Lab have already built metamaterial cloaks that can bend light and make objects vanish from sight. Yeah, actual invisibility. And if this is what they're bragging about publicly, just imagine the stuff that's too classified to reveal. I mean, what better way to wage a war or spy on your own citizens than by becoming literally invisible? 24. Somewhere deep inside the Pentagon, there's a document coldly titled the Disposition Matrix, a sterile name for what's basically a global kill list. This list identifies targets for drone strikes, and here's the kicker. Many of these people aren't even in active war zones. The process? Secretive. The oversight, questionable at best, makes you wonder if they've got a formal process for deciding who lives and dies overseas. Who's to say there isn't a domestic version quietly waiting in the wings? 25. Denver International Airport is like a conspiracy theorist's fever dream made real. First, the cost. It ran $2 billion over budget. Oops. Then there's the labyrinthine tunnel system under the airport, whose purpose is a total mystery. Inside, a mural of soldiers in gas masks slaughtering civilians, and a time capsule marked with a Freemason symbol. Oh, and from above, the runways? They form the shape of a swastika, super subtle. Some say it's the elite's end-of-the-world HQ in disguise. An airport with that much weirdness? Yeah, something smells off, and it's not just the overpriced food court. 26. Here's a sneaky one. Ever notice that after 2013, Googling Disney Frozen suddenly pulled up nothing but movie clips and soundtrack playlists? Before that, the top hits were all about Walt Disney's rumored cryogenic preservation, his supposedly frozen corpse waiting to be revived. But after the movie dropped, poof, conspiracy buried under Let It Go lyrics and Olaf memes. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe one of the slickest corporate reputation cleanups ever pulled off. Either way, Disney's PR team deserves a raise. 27. Think you're in control behind the wheel? Think again. In 2015, FBI documents confirmed that modern cars packed with electronic systems can be hacked, remotely disabled, rerouted, or even, well, crashed. Convenient, right? There are whispers this tech has already been used in some accidents involving high-profile targets that seemed a little too convenient. If your car suddenly goes rogue mid-drive, just know, it might not be a glitch. Buckle up for real. 28. When Silicon Valley billionaires start digging underground, you know something's up. In 2017, word got out that Peter Thiel, yes, that Peter Thiel, bought a sprawling nuclear-proof bunker in New Zealand, stocked and ready for the apocalypse. And he's not the only one. A growing list of tech moguls have been quietly prepping their own luxury bunkers. What do they know that we don't? It's almost like they're expecting something big. Or maybe they just really hate their neighbors. 29. Back in the 1950s, the CIA decided the best way to steer public opinion was to plant their own people in the press. Operation Mockingbird paid off journalists at top newspapers and TV networks, turning newsrooms into mouthpieces for the government. Sure, they claim the program ended after it was exposed, but come on. Do you really think they just walked away from controlling the narrative? Next time you're watching the news, ask yourself, who's really writing the script? 30. In 2021, a whistleblower from the NSA dropped a bombshell, revealing that the US government has developed AI so advanced, it can read your mind. This tech analyzes micro-expressions, subtle speech cues, and even brainwave data to predict what you're thinking before you say a word. Officially, it's all about crime prevention. But let's be real. When has surveillance ever stopped at its official purpose? If they can predict your thoughts, how long before they start punishing you for them? Welcome to the age of Minority Report, but without the cool sci-fi soundtrack. 31. What if your face could betray your darkest intentions before you've even acted? That's not the plot of a dystopian novel. It's DARPA's reality. The Kairos program uses AI to track facial expressions, online habits, and even how you move, building a digital profile to predict if you're likely to commit a crime. Sounds like science fiction, right? Nope, it's happening now. If the government's predicting crimes before they happen, who gets to decide what counts as a threat? Asking for literally everyone. 32. Tucked away in Alaska is HAARP, a giant research facility with a name as long as its conspiracy resume. Officially, it was built to study the ionosphere, basically space weather. But rumors have swirled for years that HAARP is really about controlling this planet's weather, and maybe even human minds. The US military ran the place until 2015 when, conveniently, they handed it off just as public scrutiny hit fever pitch. Weird timing, right? Whether it's hurricanes or head games, something up there doesn't add up. 33. Ever casually chat about a random product only to see it pop up in your feed minutes later? Creepy, huh? Tech giants swear they're not listening, but leaked NSA files say otherwise. Turns out, intelligence agencies have backdoor access to virtually every microphone and camera on your devices, all under the noble excuse of security. But who's watching them? Next time you crack a joke near your phone, just know someone or something might actually be listening in for real. 34. In 2011, the CIA pulled off one of its most brazen ops yet, a fake polio vaccination campaign in Pakistan, all to gather DNA while hunting Osama bin Laden. Sounds like a movie plot, but it's 100% true. After it was exposed, trust in global vaccine programs tanked, and several countries slammed the door on Western medical aid. If they weaponized health campaigns once, what makes you think they haven't pulled similar stunts since? It's the kind of thing that turns conspiracy theories into headline news. 35. Ever wondered why you can't stop at just one chip? It's not weak willpower, it's science, baby. Internal documents from major food companies show they literally engineer addiction, using precise formulas of sugar, salt, and fat to trigger your brain's dopamine rush, exactly like a drug hit. They call it the bliss point. You call it demolishing a bag of snacks without realizing. So next time you're elbow deep in junk food, remember, it's not just tasty, it's by design. 36. We all marvel at self-driving cars like they're magic. But here's the dark side. Cybersecurity pros have already shown that AI-powered cars can be hacked, steered, and even crashed remotely. Sound paranoid? In 2013, journalist Michael Hastings died when his car mysteriously accelerated to over 100 mph before slamming into a tree. Some claim it was just a freak accident. Others? They're convinced it was remote sabotage. When your car has Wi-Fi, let's just say, things get complicated. 37. Zombies might seem like a Hollywood cliché, but the Pentagon took it dead seriously. In 2011, they released CONOP 88888, an actual military plan detailing how to handle a zombie apocalypse. The document spells out how to deal with everything from viral outbreaks to, you guessed it, evil magic zombies. The official line? It was just a creative training exercise. But here's the kicker. It includes real procedures for locking down cities, isolating infected populations, and enforcing martial law. So, just a game? Or practice for something much darker? 38. Most airlines are in the business of flights and baggage fees, unless you're talking about Air America. This was no ordinary airline. It was a full-fledged CIA front used during the Cold War to smuggle weapons, move agents, and run Black Ops missions across Southeast Asia. Disguised as a commercial carrier, it kept its true purpose buried under layers of fake paperwork and plausible deniability. Officially, it was shut down ages ago. But let's be honest, when a trick works that well, it's rarely left on the shelf for good. Some say the agency still has wings, and not the kind that show up on Google Flights. 39. In 2021, DARPA revealed something that sounds ripped from a sci-fi blockbuster: non-invasive brain-to-brain communication. This isn't about texting faster. It's literal telepathy, tech that lets people send thoughts directly without uttering a word. It's being pitched as a breakthrough for soldiers and emergency responders, but let's not kid ourselves. If they're unveiling this now, the military's classified projects are already miles ahead. When the public gets table scraps, you can bet the main course is locked deep underground and way creepier than they're letting on. 40. MKUltra was once whispered about as conspiracy theory gold, until declassified documents blew the whole thing wide open. For years, the CIA dosed thousands of unsuspecting people, prisoners, mental patients, soldiers, with LSD, sedatives, and other chemicals, all in a deranged quest for mind control. One guy was kept on acid for 77 straight days, because apparently ethics were just a suggestion back then. They say it all ended in the 70s, but knowing what we do now, it's hard not to think MKUltra was just a test drive for something even darker waiting in the wings. 41. Antarctica might be covered in ice, but it's also covered in secrets. Satellite images have exposed large swaths of land that are blacked out. No official explanation, no public records. In 2016, high-profile visitors like John Kerry made mysterious trips to the icy wilderness, raising more eyebrows than answers. Some leaked files hint at ancient ruins buried beneath the glaciers, a find so monumental it could rewrite history. Whether it's secret experiments or something a lot older than humanity, one thing's for sure: no one's buying the story that it's just ice. 42. The dream of a cashless society is usually sold as sleek, modern, and oh so convenient. But dig deeper, and it starts to look less like progress and more like a power grab. Financial watchdogs have pointed out that replacing cash with fully digital currency means every single transaction becomes traceable, monitorable, and, if needed, freezable at the push of a button. It's total control of your money, disguised as innovation. Sure, swiping your phone at checkout feels futuristic, but don't be surprised when privacy becomes the price of entry. 43. National forests are supposed to be public land, but some sections are guarded like Fort Knox. Entire areas have been sealed off with military-grade fencing, blocked roads, and patrols that don't exactly look like park rangers. Locals have reported strange vehicles, unmarked helicopters, and mysterious hums in the dead of night. No official reasons are ever given, just sharp warnings to stay out. Whatever they're hiding out there, it's clearly important enough to keep locked down, and seriously off limits. 44. Remember when social media was just about sharing photos and reconnecting with old friends? Turns out, that was only part of the story. Facebook, Google, Twitter, all these platforms got early funding from In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital arm. Yep, your favorite apps were built with intelligence community cash from day one. What started as a place for selfies and memes has quietly doubled as a data goldmine, feeding insights straight into the hands of people whose business is, well, watching yours. 45. Ever wonder why fluoride is in your tap water? Officially, it's there to protect your teeth, a public health win since 1945, or so we're told. But declassified military files reveal a far weirder side. Fluoride was also a key ingredient in early mind control experiments. While many countries have since banned water fluoridation altogether, the US holds firm, brushing off critics and doubling down on its safe and effective stance. Whether you believe it's a dental miracle or a chemical leash, one thing's clear: water isn't just water when the government's involved. 46. Picture this: millions of Americans going about their daily lives, completely unaware they're being dosed with radioactive particles. That's exactly what happened under Operation LAC in the 1950s and 60s. The Pentagon sprayed radioactive zinc-cadmium sulfide over cities like St. Louis and San Francisco, all in the name of studying fallout patterns from a potential nuclear attack. No warnings, no consent, just quiet exposure to toxins floating invisibly through the air. For over 2 million people, test subject wasn't just a figure of speech, it was their reality. 47. It's no secret the Pentagon loves a good secret, especially when it comes to biolabs. Scattered across multiple countries are US-funded biological research facilities, often hidden behind vague contracts and thick layers of classified paperwork. These labs have been accused of experimenting with high-risk pathogens, sometimes in places with shaky safety records and zero public oversight. Officially, it's all defensive research, but when viral outbreaks or mysterious illnesses pop up near these labs, well, let's just say the dots aren't hard to connect. 48. Back in the 1980s, the Reagan administration got serious about turning science fiction into reality. Enter the Star Wars project, where declassified documents show the Pentagon actively explored building orbital laser weapons. Basically, giant death rays floating in space. While the official story claims these plans never materialized, it's worth remembering that space is a very, very big place. If they were dreaming up space weapons 40 years ago, you can bet your bottom dollar today's tech is way beyond anything they'll admit. 49. In one of the wildest reveals of the 1970s, a US Senate hearing exposed the CIA's development of a weapon straight out of a spy thriller: the heart attack gun. This little device fired a tiny poison dart that could trigger a fatal heart attack, leaving no trace of foul play, just a body and a clean autopsy. That was half a century ago. Given how far tech has come since, it's hard not to wonder what kind of silent killers are lurking in the shadows now, polished and ready for who knows what. So, mind blown yet, or are you still convinced it's all tinfoil nonsense? Either way, I've gotta know, which of these conspiracies do you actually believe? And which one do you think is just a clever cover-up for something even worse? Drop your wildest theories in the comments, I dare you. And hey, if you want to stay on top of the stuff they don't want you to know, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and make sure notifications are on before the signal mysteriously cuts out.